Okay, so today we start with the data members or variables. Okay, la. So what is a variable normally? It used to store some values. Okay, wow. So it will change, it will vary over the time. That we call it as variable. So here we use variables or data members to represent the current state of any object for any particular property of that object. For example, what is the current power state of this projector? It is in on state. After 10 minutes or after 1 hour, the state will change as off. Okay, wow. So for that we are using variables. Here we are having 4 types of variables. Please note it down. One is instance variable, the second one is class variable and local variables, the last one is parameter. So the another name for instance variable is non-static fields. You can see the board. The another name for class variable is static fields. I will explain one by one. So if you are referring the official website or Java T-Point, you can see one term like what is an object or definition for object. It is an instance of a class. Instance, you can see the name instance of a class. Instance means, what is meant by instance? A copy. Okay, wow. So we are creating one template or blueprint using class with roll number, name, department as properties and study, listen as behavior. So with this blueprint I am creating one instance. That means we are creating one object. So if we are creating an instance of that particular class student, that object, for example N1 is the object. So N1 object will have a copy of all these 3 data members and 2 member functions, the roll number, name, department, study and listen. So it will create a copy for that particular object N1 or student 1. So again I am creating another instance student 2. So the students 2 will have some set of values for this particular attributes, like roll number may be the student 2, the roll number is 2, the name may be some Bala, okay, then department may be BME, whatever. Okay, wow. The functionality, the behavior of study of student 1, actually we are writing some execution part and inside the functionality. Normal or function you are having some task to complete inside the function. So student 1 way of studying is different, students 2 way of studying is different, maybe. So behavior may vary, but the functionality is same. Both are doing the process of studying. Okay, wow. So we will say it later. Now, so what is meant by instance? Instance is nothing but a object. So whenever we are creating an object for a class, we call it as, we are instantiating a class, creating an object for that particular class. That we call it as instantiation. Okay, wow. So here the instance variable, the name itself says that this variable belongs to an object. That is why they mentioned the another name for instance variable as non-static field. Yesterday we see the definition for the keyword static. If we are defining something as static, it is directly accessed without creating object. Without creating object we can access that variable or method if you are putting the keyword static in front of it. So but instance variable is the one which belongs to an object. So if I am creating an instance variable, it can be accessed only through object. So obviously that variable should be non-static. We won't put the keyword static in front of that particular variable. Okay, for example, here also we are having int cadence, int speed, int gear. These are all instance variables or non-static fields. It can be accessed only through object. How we are accessing through object we will see later. Okay. The next type of variable is class variable or static fields. That means I am putting the keyword static in front of this particular variable. Then it can be accessed without creating object. It is common for all the objects of a particular class. Without creating an object also I can access that particular variable. Those variables we call it as class variables or static fields. Okay va? So yesterday class attend பண்ணவங்களுக்கு புரியும். So we already see the meaning for the keyword static. Okay va? The next one is local variable. Local variable is nothing but we might define some variables inside the functions, inside the study function or inside the listen function. We may define a variable. That variable does not depend to depends on the object or class. It is only for that particular method. The scope and visibility is only within that function. Outside that function we can't access that particular variable. That variable we call it as local variables. So local variables present inside a function. It is only for that particular function alone. Okay va? The next type is parameter. Parameter is nothing but when we are passing arguments or parameters through the functions, we call it as parameters. In a public static void main string argument list. That particular variable argument list, the list is, that array is a parameter. What are the arguments we are passing to a function? We call it as a parameter. Okay va? So 4 types of variables. One is instance variable and another one is class variable. Next one is local variable. The last one is parameter. Any doubts? So instance variable belongs to object. So obviously we call it as non-static field. Class variables, it can access without creating object. So it is static fields. Then local variables are the variables present inside a function. And parameter is the arguments passing to the function. Okay va? Any doubts? Two minutes think panni. If you have any doubts, ask me. You can read this content